The iOS 16 public beta is here, and I pulled out some of the top features I want to highlight for you, some of my favorites along with some that I think are going to be crowd favorites. I'm going to have a full detailed walkthrough of iOS 16 when it's finalized, the final version when it ships in the fall, so be sure to subscribe for that. The lock screen got a major update in iOS 16. In iOS 14, we saw the home screen kind of get some customization options, along with like widgets and things like that. We saw some people do theming with shortcuts and other related things. It was all really cool. So Apple is applying that kind of theming style to the lock screen now. So there's a few things you can do here. First is changing the clock. You can change the font and the color. You do this by long pressing on the lock screen, and it goes into an edit mode, kind of like the jiggle mode on the home screen. From here, you tap on the clock and you can select a new font or a color. And that color not only just applies to the font, but you'll see it applied to the date and some other things we talk about in just a second. It's kind of awesome having a whole color picker right on the lock screen, so there's literally no color you can't pick. In this edit mode, you can swipe on the lock screen to go through different kinds of themes. There are a few different ones here. The first one is natural, which is basically nothing. It's just like the plain Jane one. Then there's black and white, duotone, which is a gradient, and then color wash, which is a color filter. Personally, I just like the natural one, but the black and white one does look nice as well. Underneath the clock, there is now a section for widgets on the lock screen. Right now in the public beta, there's a whole bunch of first-party ones, but third parties will be able to add widgets in the fall. There's options for reminders, activity rings, weather, home, batteries, and more. And these are all really reminiscent of the Apple Watch style complications. And there's two sizes of widgets here. So basically there's small widgets, and you could put 4 of these on the lock screen next to each other. Or there's a larger style widget, and you could put 2 of these next to each other. Or you could do some kind of combination. So you could do like a large style widget and then 2 small style widgets if you want. You can also tap on where the date is and add a kind of a longer widget. I really like this for calendar events. You can even create multiple lock screens and switch between them if you want. So if you have different style wallpaper backgrounds you want, or if you want different widgets on the lock screen, you could do that. And then with the new focus mode settings, like with the home screen, you could set a dedicated lock screen when you're in a certain focus mode. So you can have a lock screen for work mode, and then you can have a lock screen for like personal free time mode. When setting up a new lock screen, it'll ask you if you want to pair it with a wallpaper, meaning if you change your lock screen, it'll also change the wallpaper alongside of that, so you can kind of match them. I really like this, so I can make sure my lock screen matches my wallpaper. And there's a few options when setting up these wallpapers as well. First, you could turn on a blur. So this allows the content on your home screen to kind of pop out more, not blend in, which is really nice. And there's also a couple of gradient options as well. For the actual wallpapers themselves, there are a few new options, and these can be applied to the lock screen and the home screen. 2 of my favorites are weather and astronomy. The weather one shows you what the weather is like in your current location, kind of like what the weather app does already. Astronomy shows your position on the planet. But if Earth bores you, you can then select the moon or the whole solar system. It's so cool, and like the transitions between those are so amazing. But the one that I've really been liking a lot is Photo Shuffle. This will go through your photo album and find either people, pets, or nature. Or you can manually select photos for it to shuffle through and set as your different backgrounds. So I've set up a few different photo albums, one that is landscape wallpaper and one that is portrait wallpaper. So I selected all of my portrait wallpapers for this photo shuffle. And the last thing the lock screen is getting is active notifications. This is a new way for notifications to display relevant information while things are happening. So the example that Apple gave during WWDC is, hey, you're waiting for an Uber. So instead of getting 50 notifications for, hey, the Uber has now been selected, the Uber is now arriving, your Uber's here, okay, get in, blah, 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 blah. It's just one notification showing the current status. These are coming later in the fall for third parties, but if you want to play around with some first party ones right now, you can use like the timer app to get those. That is the new active notification, and I really like it. Messages got some big finally features for me, and I'm very excited. So first, you can now edit messages. You do this by long pressing on a message you sent, select edit, and you can fix any spelling mistakes you want. You can also undo messages being sent. So if you accidentally sent something to the wrong chat message, you can undo that so the person on the other end doesn't have to deal with it. My favorite feature is you can mark messages as unread. Just swipe right on the thread and it'll mark it as unread. So nice. Oh, I absolutely love this feature. And you can now recover deleted messages. So hit the edit button and then go into recover deleted and you can bring back anything you accidentally deleted. Dictation also got some nice feature updates as well. First off, it is super fast now. Dictation wasn't necessarily slow on iOS 15, but it is significantly faster now and significantly more reliable. What's really nice though is you can use dictation and the software keyboard at the same time. So say like you're typing out a message or something and like, you know, sometimes you're in a noisy environment or dictation just gets something wrong. You can hold down on the spacebar, move the cursor back and, you know, edit the message any way you want. It also auto adds punctuation now, so it infers when your sentence ends or when it needs to insert a comma or something like that. This, on the beta, keep in mind, we're only in beta 3, there's still a few months left to go. It works okay. It's not perfect by any means. It definitely inserts some periods where a sentence does not end, definitely adds some commas when there shouldn't be a comma, but I think that's okay. We're still deep in the beta period right now, so hopefully that does get better, but it is really nice to have. So if you just want to talk out a really long message, hit the dictation button and go for it. One feature I'm really excited about is haptic feedback for keyboards. So what this is when you're typing on the software keyboard on your iPhone, it uses the vibrate motor to kind of simulate a hardware keyboard. You can go and turn this on in settings, sounds and haptics, and keyboard feedback. And it's kind of one of those things that's hard to explain over video. You just have to kind of try it. Note's got a lot of great features in iOS 16, but there's one in particular I want to call out, and that's Quick Note. Quick Note was added in iPadOS 15 and the last version of macOS to those platforms, but it wasn't on the iPhone. And it kind of made sense at the time because Quick Note was all about like, you know, pulling it up from the bottom right corner and stuff like that. Like on the iPad, you could get it from Control Center, but it just made more sense pulling it from the bottom right corner using a keyboard shortcut. But Apple now brought it to the iPhone and you activate it through Control Center. This will do the same thing that Quick Note did on the iPhone. It'll allow you to insert like things like Safari links or mail links or any link that you could do on the iPad, it'll do it here on the iPhone. And then you could write your note and when you're done, it'll save it to that Quick Note folder. What is weird and is a missing feature that's something on the iPad but isn't on the iPhone is you can't swipe through your Quick Notes. So on the iPad, you could swipe through all the stuff that is in that Quick Note folder right from the Quick Note window. That is not available on the iPhone in the current version of this beta. With iOS 16 and macOS Ventura, you'll be able to use your iPhone as a wireless camera. The idea of using your iPhone as a webcam or a better camera on your Mac isn't new. Like apps like Camo have been doing it for a while, but this is really interesting because it's hooked right into the system now. You don't need a third-party app and it works really seamlessly, even on a beta. This does require an iPhone XR or newer. So the way this works is you just bring your iPhone close to the Mac and you can set it to be the camera for apps like FaceTime, QuickTime, or any other video call or recording app. But if the iPhone is stationary, say it's on a tripod or on that mount Apple announced at WWDC that Belkin is making, it will then automatically then switch to the iPhone to be that camera. Now you could turn this off and set a default camera if you want, but the iPhone's camera is so much better than any Mac's webcam. When the iPhone is in this mode, you can either use center stage, so it'll use the ultra wide camera and kind of pan and track you, or you can turn center stage off and then it'll switch to the wide camera, which is the best camera Apple makes. Like the wide camera, especially on like the iPhone 13 Pro Max or 13 line, that wide camera is the best camera lens that they make. So you'll get a really nice image. Alongside center stage, there are two other effects. The portrait effect, which is pretty familiar for those that have been using FaceTime, and also a new studio light effect. So if you don't have good lighting, this actually like manipulates your image to make your setup look pretty decent. And Honestly, for it being all computational and all on the computer side, I think it looks pretty good. Now, there are a ton of different stands and tripods out there. If you all want, I can make a video specifically about those stands and tripods because I have a whole bunch already. And then there's that Belkin one as well. I can make it in the future, but honestly, if you just search on Amazon or something, like there's a whole bunch out there. There's also a new app in macOS Ventura called Desk View, and this is really interesting to me. So I have this huge rig for doing these top-down shots that you have seen in my other videos. But what this app does is it uses the corner of the ultra-wide camera, and when it's up on like your Mac, it then shows the stuff that's laying flat on your desk. That is so just impressive. Desk View works okay, but without an actual proper mount to mount it in the exact right position, it doesn't really work. But if you're just trying to demo something on a video call or something like that, it's perfect for that kind of thing. I wouldn't, you know, if I'm doing a high-end presentation or something, maybe I wouldn't do that. But if I'm just doing a video call with a few people and being like, hey, here's this new product we're making, like, let me demo it for you. Or if I'm just talking to some friends and be like, hey, check out this keyboard I just built. Like, that is perfect for this kind of thing. And most people don't have overhead rigs like I have. So like using something like this isn't an option for them. I think continuity camera is going to be a big hit in the fall, maybe second only to the lock screen changes. I think there's obviously a lot of people that are still doing a lot of Zoom calls and things like that. Another big finally feature got checked off for me, and this time it's in Maps, and this is multi-stop routing. So if you're planning a trip, but you want to like, hey, I'm going to let's say Santa Cruz. I'm going to Santa Cruz. But you know what? I really want to stop in Casa de Fruta. And if you're not from California, Casa de Fruta is like the ultimate tourist trap. It's like a bunch of like homemade goodies, candies, fudge. If you go there, try the fudge. So I could plan my trip and be like, okay, we're going to start at home, we're going to go to Casa de Fruta, and then we're going to go to Santa Cruz. Or we're going to go to Santa Cruz, Casa de Fruta, then home. So that's really great. So Maps will then plan for that route automatically. The Health app got a really cool feature. This is medication reminders. So if you take medication at any point, you can put all of that stuff in the Health app. You can tell it how frequently you take the medication. So for example, I have meds that I take twice a day, once at 6 a.m. and once at 6 p.m. At those times, it will remind me to then take those medications, and I can mark it as, hey, I took it, or I didn't take it, or hey, remind me in 10 minutes. That is really nice. I've been using the app Do for this, but this is going to be hooked right into the Health app. It will then take a look at the medication I'm taking and be like, hey, you can't mix that medication with this other medication or something else, like all sorts of different things. I'm not a doctor, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. The final feature I want to mention isn't really an iOS feature, but it's for AirPods, and it uses your iPhone. And what's really cool about this is it's basically giving you personalized spatial audio profiles. So what you're gonna do is when you pair your AirPods to an iPhone with iOS 16, it's going to say like, hey, you wanna create a personalized spatial audio profile? Say yeah, and it's gonna ask you to hold your iPhone up to your ear, and it's gonna use that front-facing sensor and those cameras and all that goody stuff up there, and it's going to scan your ear. And it's going to create a personalized profile for each of your ears because, believe it or not, ears aren't identical. So it's going to create a personalized profile for you, and it's going to make spatial audio even better. Now, I really like this. I just think this is a really cool feature, and it's just another one of those things Apple is doing with the stuff that's built into the iPhone. Like those sensors and stuff that are built into the iPhone, they weren't designed to scan your ear, but they're like, hey, this stuff's here, we can do it, so let's do it. And I just think that's super cool. So that's it for my top iOS 16 features. Like I said, I will be back in the fall, and I'm gonna have a bunch of other videos over the summer as well, but I'm gonna have a detailed walkthrough on iPadOS, iOS, macOS, and maybe even watchOS if I have time. I'm gonna have walkthroughs on all those OSs, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.